Got a job at a truck stop at the age of 12, and that really, amazingly, is a catalyst for my whole career, my whole life, because part of getting the job entailed having written goals. I thought, man, are you interviewing for a GM? Like, I want to wash dishes here. And I had to have goals for my family, for school. We were the only one that I knew of in Sydney that had a maximum amount of hours and shifts that you could work a week, because people were working like 80 hours and I just knew it wasn't healthy. So it was like at 50. That was for managers, staff, everything. When you got your days off as a manager, and we asked our team, we surveyed them and said, well, what makes it hard to be in this industry? And several of my managers said, when you have a day off, you don't get a day off. People call you and you're stressed. And he said, you better sit down for a second. And I said, what's happening? And he goes, you're 30 years old and you are on a collision course with death. He said, you are in terrible shape. Like, I mean, what do you mean? I'm 6'3". My weight right now, I'm about 215 pounds. At the time, I was 300 pounds. I drank all of my calories. Now, if there's anyone listening that knows that they're headed to, don't have to be like me and wait till you wind up in a hospital. You could go and start your journey now and head towards health.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to Hospitality Bites. I am your host, hospitality hustler, mompreneur, and the heart behind Hospitality Bites. As you know, this podcast is dedicated to highlighting individuals from all over this incredible industry with the intention of humanizing it. And today's guest is doing just that. He has truly built both his career and his life around the hospitality industry, striving to improve it. From washing dishes to leading boardrooms, he's turned every chapter, successes and failures alike, into lessons that now guide others. After building a multi-million-dollar bar group from the ground up, he founded one of the industry's most respected consulting firms in 2001, Barmetrics, helping thousands of operators across the globe creating profitable, sustainable businesses. Drawing from his real-life experiences, he has since launched the Finter Group, where he continues to coach leaders on how to build businesses that work for them, not the other way around. He is an author, a sought-after global public speaker, and a true hospitality lifer. And joining me from just across the Bay Bridge is Sean Finter. Thank you, Sean, for joining me.
Hey, thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. I'm so grateful to Jamie connecting us. I don't know about you, but with the podcast, it's really kind of fun to meet people from like all over and have these conversations, and just the connection to the network is much bigger than I think people realize.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love being a guest, and I shoot my own podcast from time to time. Not as regular as you, but I love it too.
It's so fun, right? Like, it's, for me, this is definitely my happy part of my day. I do it once a week. My mom comes over, watches my baby, and I just kind of get to, shoot the breeze with people in the industry that are all very different, but with like the common goal of like, this industry can be tough, but there's a lot of great, wonderful things that come from it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So your background is very vast, and we could go back, 25 years if you wanted to, but kind of give us the brief background of like when you jumped into the industry, how old are you? I know you were super young, and what has transpired kind of since then?
I was 12 years old and grew up in a small town in Canada, and I had a couple of jobs at the time. I worked at like a car lot, like cleaning cars on the weekends, and I had a big paper route. But the sought after job in my town was like indoors and in a restaurant. So I got a job at a truck stop at the age of 12, and that really, amazingly, is like the catalyst for my whole career, my whole life, because part of getting the job entailed having written goals. And I was like, I looked a bit older than 12 when I was 12, but I thought, man, are you interviewing for a GM? Like, I want to wash dishes here. And I had to have goals for my family, for school. I wasn't doing very well in school. And like bigger goals in my life. What did I want to do? And the deal was like my boss, Mr. Panu, said, you're going to work here, but while you're here, you're going to help me achieve my goals, and I'm going to help you achieve your goals. And he built just an amazing organization around that. And it changed my life, just having written goals, having mentors at a young age. Mm-hmm. School didn't work out for me. I've not graduated high school yet. I didn't realize until I was in my early 20s that I have a rare form of dyslexia. And I just thought I just wasn't good at school. My mom was French Canadian. My grandmother didn't speak English. And, I wrote it off to all of that. And it turned out I had a pretty severe learning disability that I had to learn to work with. And it's turned out to be a gift. But I've never left the industry. I went from the truck stop to restaurants to Hard Rock Cafe, went to England when I was 19 years old, and worked for some big companies there and just put myself beside amazing mentors. And by the time I was 26 years old, I had traveled to 30 countries and bought my first restaurant when I was 27 years old. So it was quite a ride.
And that first restaurant, you were in Australia, correct?
Yeah, in Sydney.
And you
Yeah.
literally took it from bare bottom to what was the success for you with that?
Well, I had 8 restaurants within 6 years, and I bought all but one out of bankruptcy. And they weren't exactly free. I had to take on some debt with some of them that these businesses owed, and most of them. My kind of sweet spot as an operator was like $2 to $6 million locations. I had one that was bigger, two that were bigger than that, but I like that space. You can run it with a pretty small team, and so we took them all from doing in their final year before I had them. Most of them were doing less than $1 million, 800,000 to 900,000, and we took an 8 restaurant group to nearly $33 million in annual revenue.
It's
So
wild. And you were
yeah,
so young.
yeah. I was so young and like the old guy in the team because most of the people that work for me that were crazy enough to work for me were like 19, 20, 22 years old. And, it's interesting. You look at the ethos of a restaurant or a restaurant group. And, I really wanted to do for others what Mr. Panu at the truck stop did for me. And, the tagline that was coined, and it wasn't me that did it. And it didn't even feel good in the beginning, but, people going to call this misfits. We had a lot of people like me that didn't graduate high school. We had people that didn't speak English very well, some people with disabilities, and my pledge was if you came here and you did the work and you continue to learn and grow, and kind of found out who you were, I'd give you a platform for that. That's what I did, and that's what I continue to do while I had that group, and I continue to do it to this day. And the restaurant part, the bar part, that's kind of what we did, but it was kind of finding out who we were was the main thrust. And when I sold
Mm-hmm.
the restaurant group, we had 396 employees at the time when we sold. So we found 400 misfits.
It's funny that you said that. So I call us pirates because we have this weird universal understanding of each other, and we can kind of go to any port and you just fit in. Like you get those people, you understand each other. We all have very different backgrounds. I was terrible at school. Actually, my mom teaches children with LD, like severe dyslexia, dysgraphia, like all these things. And I was bad at school. Like I hated high school. I hated sitting in a classroom. I tried college and it was not for me. So that's how I found myself in the industry. And here I am
Right.
pushing 40 with 2 little people, and I'm still in it, whether it's, industry adjacent, but I found my people and I felt seen and I felt like I belonged somewhere for the first time in my entire life. And
Right.
but it also can be a huge detriment. Like for me, it was because I was so absorbed into that restaurant scene of like work hard, work as much as I can. And then my outside social life was then you hang out with those people, and then I just drank excessively and I had no understanding of like responsibility. Really, honestly, the responsibility was my work. And it
Yeah.
took a serious thing in my life. I got a DUI to be like, this rinse repeat cycle is not good. You need
Right.
to stop. You're in your 20s, like let's reevaluate. Did you have any moments like that where it was like I need to reevaluate what I'm doing right now, or what happened for you?
Well, I had several moments. I think the
Mm,
biggest life changing moment is my company. We wanted to put key man insurance on me because I did most of the development and acquisition, and so in order to get key man insurance, you have to get a pretty thorough physical. And I hadn't had one before. I had no need to have one. I was only like 29, 30 years old when this was happening. And I went to a doctor and I got I did a bunch of tests, and then I got on the treadmill, and he turned the treadmill off, and he said, "You better sit down for a second." And I said, "What's happening?" And he goes, "You're 30 years old, and you are on a collision course with death." He said, "You are in terrible shape." Like, I mean, what do you mean? I'm 6'3". My weight right now, I'm about 215 pounds. At the time, I was 300 pounds.
Wow.
I drank all of my calories. So I would drink 6 to 8 coffees a day. I remember the first day I had Red Bull, and I was drinking 5, 6, 8 cans of that a day. I would eat all of my meals standing up, on the fly, running around. I'm working 100 hours a week. I'd sleep in my car, have like power naps for 5, 10 minutes at a time. When I got home, though, I couldn't sleep. I'd have a few glasses of red wine to go to sleep. I'd have the Red Bull in the morning to wake up. And I was just in terrible, terrible shape. And, I had recently become a father, and I went out, I left the doctor's office. I remember sitting on a bench out front and just crying, just going like, what am I doing? If this is success, I don't want it. I was making more money than I knew what to do with. And, in everyone else's eyes, I was super successful, but I wasn't good at anything but work. And I just thought, I need to make some major changes. And I had assembled a board, and I got my board together. I told them what happened. And one of the members of my board repeated something he had said earlier. He said, every company that he's been involved with prepared itself for sale. Like, even if you don't want to sell, right, you should be in a position to, in case something happens and whatever else. So I spent the next year, documenting the business and like, cutting out the weaker parts and all of that. And within 6 months from that time, I was made an offer for the business that I took. And I had 8 properties. The goal, my business plan, if I had one, it would have just said more, right? I just wanted more properties, more opportunities, more, because that was success, right? If you don't have a diploma, you don't, success is whatever people see you doing. And I was made an offer that was very generous. We didn't even negotiate. We took the offer, and I took a year to get myself back together. I actually moved back to North America. I made a lot of changes, but I believe the doctor. I think I would have died if had I kept up. Either fallen asleep behind the wheel, had a heart attack. I was 30 years old. It's no way to live your life.
It's funny you said the Red Bull thing, because I remember when we got Red Bull into our restaurant. And then we also had like some off brand that was kept on the gun. Like, I don't even know what was in it, and it probably was absolutely horrific for you. But we would do shots of them, like not with alcohol. We would just do shots of energy drinks, and the eating standing up, and just like, it's wild to think that that was a normal everyday occurrence. Like you said, you first thing is have caffeine in the morning, but I have to have something to drink to go to bed because I can't rest because my head won't turn off. And then I'm eating terrible. I'm putting just junk in my face because I don't have time to actually sit and have a meal.
Right.
It's interesting. Like, that's what's so crazy about the industry. I've never met you in real life, and you have lived, an incredible hospitality industry life, but those stories are just the same across the board.
Right.
There was this no understanding of, we were young professionals. It was a real job. It's a real career. We weren't taking care of ourselves like every other industry in the world does.
Yeah. Well, you know what's really funny in hindsight is that early on, like in our second year with the restaurants, we had a woman that worked for me that I really, really liked. She's amazing. And she had, what she described to us as like a nervous breakdown. And she was in an abusive relationship. We didn't know about that. Like, we just didn't really know her life outside of the restaurant. And for the most part, she was always very happy when she came in, and like, she's just an amazing teammate. And when she left us, it really changed me, and I thought, I didn't feel responsible directly for what happened to her, but I knew that the restaurant environment is not a healthy place for the most part. It's a very stressful, unpredictable, physical, emotional industry. And I got on my phone here, I pulled up for you today. I thought you might find it interesting. This is what we had in place for our employees. So think about the life I was living. And then we had this 10-point mandate for our group, for our employees. We had we were the only one that I knew of in Sydney that had a maximum amount of hours and shifts that you could work a week, because people were working like 80 hours and I just knew it wasn't healthy. So it was like at 50.
That was your
And that
max.
was,
You actually had a
yeah,
max.
yeah, that
Wow.
was for managers, staff, everything. When you got your days off as a manager, like, and we asked our team, we surveyed them and said, well, what makes it hard to be in this
Mm-hmm.
industry? And several of my managers said, when you have a day off, you don't get a day off. People call you and you're stressed. So we said, if anyone needs to call them, you have to call me first, and then I'll call them. Like if they really have something that you need, otherwise figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Pretend they're at a funeral, right? Um, we installed an amber light in every room at every bar and restaurant that we had. And what that was for, and a guest wouldn't know that it was there, but meant that if you were on the floor or on the bar or in the kitchen and you were stressed and you felt unwell and needed a break, someone's going to cover for you. And it was never to be abused for cigarettes or junk food, whatever. If you don't feel good, if you need a break, we'd give it to you. Number four is people just were eating garbage. They were coming in and stuff. So we had really good staff meals, healthy staff meals. Everyone got fed every day.
Hmm.
We had a sign that said, someone put it up. It said, save your drama for your mama. And it just meant like no gossip, no bullshit. You had a problem with someone, go and talk to them. Otherwise, just keep your mouth shut. Like, let's not be that
Mm-hmm.
company that gossips about people.
Mm-hmm.
Number six, no dead end jobs. You want to wash dishes for me? Awesome. What's next? You want to manage for me? Awesome. What's next? We're going to help you progress in your career. Number seven, I found it boring to do one thing all the time. So everyone had multiple roles, and you had to do another shift every other week. So, every 10 shifts you can do a shift in the kitchen, you can do a shift on the host stand. When I was a bartender, I like working the host stand, and you stayed in the tip pool, right? So you didn't get
Oh.
penalized for it. Number eight is education was mandatory. So we had education on mental health, on physical health, on finance, on every month. You didn't have to come every month, you had to try. And you were expected to do 10 educationals a year. Number 9 of 10 is you had a monthly check-in with the management mentally. Like, how are you feeling? What needs to change? Is anything on your mind? And so on and so forth. So every person had about 5 to 8 people that reported into them, into a member of our leadership team. And number 10, no booze. You didn't drink on the property before, during, or after the shift. And we only put that in place in year 3 because one of my bartenders, a very attractive woman, she didn't get molested. She got like accosted on the way home, and she didn't feel that she was in a position to take care of herself. And I said, we're not going to do this anymore. I don't want someone to leave here. She had had about 5 or 6 drinks on the property, and I just said, and I don't know about you, but I don't make very good decisions when I'm drinking, right? Like,
Right.
so I got people handling my money and my business. Like, we don't need to drink. You want to drink? Go to another property after you're done or on your day off or whatever it might be. So we had those 10 things in place, and I thought we're going to lose. We did lose some people. We probably, as we put them in place, my estimation is we lost about 15% of our staff who said, this isn't fun. I don't want to work here. I can't tell you how many people came from all over the city, all over the country to work for us. There's just no one else that was providing a healthier, I don't want to say a healthy work environment, but a much healthier than the norm.
What
And they
year
came
was
from
this?
all over. So we bought the first place in like 2001. So it was like 2001 till 2007, 2008.
And it's 2025, and we're still talking about that our industry is not as healthy as it can be. But there was someone like you literally 20 years ago doing this, trying to break through. Like, this is what we say, it's a slow burn. Like, this is so hard for people to understand. This isn't like a new thing that we've been talking about. There's people like you that have been around for decades trying to talk about, like, this is a great industry that we have to do better. Like, my mind, when I tell you my mind is blown right now that you're telling me that you had these in place when I was entering the industry, like as a very young teenager, probably how much safer I could have been as a young woman. Um,
Right.
you know what I mean? Just I will say, as a teenager and being so naive and unaware of responsibilities, and the adults in the room were acting terribly. Had there been like real structure like that, how much more successful I could have been early on and not. But you know what? We all have to live through stuff. I've been through it. But I am truly like, I have very few words to say how impressed I am that you implemented that in that time period.
Well, thank you. But we did it because we thought it was the right thing to do. I coach bar and restaurant operators today, and encourage them heavily, seriously encourage them to do it because it's a massive competitive advantage. You want to
Mm-hmm.
get great people that'll stay in the industry way longer, that'll give you their best 5 shifts a week, and you got to provide a better environment for them to work in. And yeah, there's people that want to party, that want to drink. Cool, they can work down the road.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think we like I'm a geek. I love the numbers. And so, I had a consulting firm outside of my restaurant group. So I had the numbers on a lot of other businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And we outperformed every business that I had numbers on with about 80% of the staff, right? We had 20% less staff because we had all A players. We had people that just took their job seriously.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't spend time messing around in the walk-in or out front smoking. They didn't spend time gossiping. They came in. We were, where a lot of groups were big on cocktails, food, or cool fit out. We were a hospitality group. We liked, my belief is that hospitality is how a person feels about themselves while they're in your company, right? So I wanted people to feel seen, to feel important, to feel respected, at the highest end, to feel loved. They come in and, can you love a stranger? Yeah, I can love a stranger. I can make them feel loved while they're with us. And so we taught that. We taught people how to do that. We taught them, how to adapt to a guest when they walked in. I would take a young person, 19-year-old host, and I'd work with them, and there'd be a group of two people, a couple approaching the door, and I'd say, what's their energy level at? What do you rate them at? And they go, an 8. And I'd say, okay, why? Why do you think that? And they go, oh, now that I look at them, a 6. I said, yeah, I'd agree. It probably is 6. And then our job is to take them 2 levels up while they're with us, right? We want to meet them where they're at, mirror their
Yeah.
energy, mirror their language, get out in front of them. And, no one coming from a funeral wants to be greeted by a clown, right? And no one coming from their promotion wants to be treated like it's a funeral. So
Mm-hmm.
we match that energy, and then our job is to bring them a couple levels up while they're with us. And that's what we did in Sydney, and we turned 8 businesses around, and I believe we made an impact in 400, more than 400. We had 400 active employees, so we had hundreds more than that over the years. Looking back today, we have, that I know of, over 40 of those people are business owners today, either in part or they own a whole business. So
See?
that was the other hidden goal with us, is that I encourage anyone that owns a business to say, okay, people are going to come and work for you, and you're going to trade time and effort for money. But if there's something more than that, and I thought back then, what's the one thing that I can give away low cost for high impact? And my promise to them was, if you come and work for me for 3 years, I will show you how to run a business from the ground up. I'll show you how to write a proposal. I'll show you how to negotiate. I'll show you how to do inventory. I'll show you how to do a schedule. I'll show you how to deal with the bank. You'll learn the whole thing. There was a whole roadmap to doing that. Not everyone wanted to, and that's fine. But most people did. And then they took that back to their family business. They took it, we all have something in addition to what we're doing. And if you give that away, you're in really good shape.
Man, Jamie, when she said you were incredible, like I'm truly just in awe of, you really get this, like you totally understand this industry. You understand it from the physical and mental aspect of it all, but also that this really is a career and it's something to be proud of. Like I was so ashamed to be a waitress when I was younger because people would come in that like went to college and they were back, having fun, and I was serving them, and I was embarrassed because I did not see the potential until much later. Like, and I'd been at about that point 10 years. It took a long time for me to say, like, oh, I'm good at this. And I'm going to
Yeah.
do something with it. And I'm going to keep pushing forward. I'm going to figure out other things and other avenues. And I can see why people reach out to you to come do public speaking, because I feel so empowered talking to you, just hearing you say that you believed in people no matter where they started and when they came into the industry, whatever it is, that there was an option for them beyond that. Like that's truly remarkable. And I wish I had met you a long time ago, because I would probably been a
Yeah.
lot better off. But I know you also had
That
some serious like pitfalls too, and like really life-changing moments. Is it
mm,
possible to talk about that flight and
Sure.
what that was like for you?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, the catalyst to like selling my restaurant group, and I should have said that it was meant to be a break. I was meant to go back to being a retailer, and because I loved serving our guests, I loved serving our team, but I kind of found another path. I started Barmetrics while I had the restaurant group. It took me like all over the world. We had 26 offices in 8 countries around the world. So I feel like Forrest Gump. Like I just can't believe it even happened. It just
So
started
cool.
on my kitchen table, and then Sydney and Melbourne, and grew, and then Canada, the UK, and Brazil, Spain, England. Like it just grew and grew. And while I had that business and was growing that, I was traveling a lot, probably too much, and I was I was at a point where I had got healthy, and then I got unhealthy again. In a different way this time, more mentally. I was just run down, and they say like bad things happen in threes. So I had an experience where I had issues with my business partner. I was going through a divorce, which, I'm an adopted kid, so all I ever wanted to do was be a family. And it just was, I never thought I would be divorced. And then I had an issue with another business that I had an investment in, and the partner stole from me. And that, was as bad as anything, like the bank account was cleared out. And
Oh my God.
so, I got to a point where, it all felt like it happened at once, and I was really run down, and I was back to, working a lot of hours and run down. And somehow, like, I just didn't learn my lesson the first time, like about, with your tank running on empty. And then what happens when you got to go like hard and to save yourself or to dig in. And I was literally flying to Brazil to do a talk for a public company for like, it was like their regional summit. So like hundreds of leaders. I already postponed because of the divorce. And basically they said, next postponement, you got to cover the cost, which would be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I got on that plane, and the minute I got on the plane, I knew I was in trouble. I was like in really bad shape. And I landed in Miami, connected to Sao Paulo, and I never even got through customs. I saw the customs agent. I found myself running. I had to go to the rubbish bin, and I threw up, and it was all blood. So I didn't know I had, stomach ulcers, and one of them had ruptured, and I passed out, and I woke up in an ambulance. And if you've ever been in an ambulance in a foreign country, it's just like the movies. Like they make a different noise, they look differently inside, and I'm being taken to the hospital. Now my handler was there from the company who was there to receive me. Of course, there's an ambulance attendant, but there's 2 cops in that thing. I'm like, why is there police in the ambulance with me? And it's because I was illegal in the country. I hadn't gone through customs yet. So anyhow, I had to go to the hospital for a couple of days to get stabilized. You can't fly with internal bleeding. And naively, like I thought, I just need a couple of days off. Like that's all I need to fix myself. And so I flew home. I was in really bad shape. I knew it. And I just wanted to be home. I live on the water. I have a dock and my dog. And I just thought, I'm going to be fine here. And a friend of mine, a bunch of friends came over to check on me and look after me. And my friend had just lost his best friend to suicide. And he said, Sean, you have a lot of the symptoms that he had before he took his life. And I said, what, are you crazy? Like, and he said, I'm not leaving you until you agree to go to the hospital. I need you to go get checked out. And that night, to this day, I don't know if I was asleep or awake. I feel like I was asleep, but I remember it so graphically. I might have been awake. But I remember I'm at Franklin House now, a leadership property I own in Annapolis. And I was here, and I was driving back to my house, which is only 8 miles from here. And the guy accelerated into this big column of a bridge. And I know that sounds terrible, but I had the most euphoric, beautiful feeling of my life, like just this release of like all the pressure, and I just felt so good. And I called my friend into the room and told him what had happened. And he started crying and he said, we're going to the hospital. And I went to a mental facility to be checked out. And I spent 8 days in there. And, when I was there, I felt like this is so humiliating and embarrassing. And it's like Hotel California, right? You can check into a mental hospital, but you don't get to leave when you want, unless you get a judge and a court order. And so when I was being checked into the hospital, so graphic in my memory, they took my shoelaces and my belt, and I'm like, no, I'm okay. And they're like, no, we have to do this. And the attendant said to me, whose belt is this? I said, well, it's my belt. And he held it up, and it had like 8 holes that I'd punched. I barely remember. I hadn't eaten for months.
Oh my
and
God.
and so I kept punching a hole with whatever, and just to keep my pants up, and they weighed me and they said, how much do you weigh? And I told them, and they're like, when did you weigh that? And I said, I think that's what I weigh now. And they're like, no, you're like 60 pounds lighter than what you're saying. So I had lost 60 pounds. I went in there, and, for those, I hope not everyone gets to see the inside. It was a very nice facility, world-class facility, but there's all kinds of people in there. There was a woman in there who was like head of, for the region of FEMA, and just cracked under the pressure. There was a woman in there who had a passion for throwing chairs in the air and watching them land, and like all kinds of people. But I can tell you this: it was good for me. The first thing that I noticed was like I stopped like reaching around, and I stopped looking for my phone. Right, like that was like on day 2 or day 3, and I thought, what a gift to have that thing away, nothing buzzing, nothing vibrating. I ate 3 meals a day, didn't have to think about it, just ate the food they put in front of me or in the cafeteria. I went to classes about like my mental health and like, creating space for yourself and exercise and healthy people in your life, like reviewing that every few years. Like people change and you change and your circumstance changes. They talked about like looking for the symptoms, like what, when like we don't have a valve that says you're getting to the red zone. It's like, so how do you know when you're in the orange? And I thought to myself, why has no one ever talked to me about this before? Like, why don't they talk about this in high school, to say that you're going to be stressed at some point in your life if you're not already, and this is how you look for it, this is what you do about it. And so when I was on day 8, I was released. And to be honest, I was scared to leave. As much as I wanted to, I was scared. Like, I had a routine and I was safe, and like, and the world was out there. My phone was out there, my businesses, my kids. And this nurse, this beautiful, kind of heavy-set Black woman, I saw her every day, and she didn't speak much. She wasn't unkind to me, but she just wasn't very talkative. And on the 8th day, when I was packing my little bag, she sat on the bed beside me, which I found very strange. Like, the staff don't sit on your bed. They don't like, and she sat down beside me, and she said, "Are you okay?" And those words made me cry, because I didn't know. I said, I don't know if I'm okay. And she said, what's the one thing that you're going to change as a result of being here? And I've been writing in my journal every day 1,000 things. And I said, I don't know. And she put her hand on my hand and she said, oh, sweetheart, don't waste a good tragedy. She said, you got to change something. That's what this place is for. You got to figure out that one thing that you've got to change. And my ride was waiting for me outside, and I went back to my diary. I didn't want to leave without circling something. And the thing that I circled is I said, I had written in my diary that I'm so lucky, like I've got money and opportunity, and like I'm still doing things that are hurting me. And I said, I'm not going to do anything moving forward that's unhealthy for me. I'm just going to make decisions based on my mental health first and everything else after that. Because if I can't take care of myself, I can't take care of anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I've lived true to that. I've said no to hundreds of opportunities since. I've turned down hundreds of trips. I'm good. I got my family. I've got my fiance. I've got like everything that I need, and I don't need to take any unnecessary risk. So it was a huge turning point in my life, and part of why I talk about it today, and I've been on stage this year in Dubai and Montreal and all around the States, is to hopefully tell people they don't need to go to a hospital to learn these lessons, right? Like, this is life, and we're all going to be in a tough spot one day. And even if you don't think you are, like I did not think I would ever be in an ambulance in Brazil, be in a hospital in Baltimore. Like, I just thought I was invincible, and I am not, and neither is anybody else. It's just sadly a matter of time.
The reason why I say I want to humanize hospitality is because we forget, like, as humans, nobody's perfect. And we all are going to live through things that are like testing us, and we can put on a brave face as much as we want. But when you fall down, you can either stay down and let it keep eating you and you keep letting it eat you alive, or you can find that bright spot and like get yourself back up. And like, what is the one thing that will push you forward or that you want to change? Like you said, what she said to you, like, that's huge. Like, hang on to that one thing that you want to change and like, don't look back, because our life is this big. We only have this much time here, and there's so much good that we can do with it. And I said to you yesterday, what I measure as level of success now is like happiness. Like, I want to be happy. I'm a mom with 2 beautiful children, but I was not happy 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. And, hearing you say, like, I was getting very emotional because you're a father to 4 beautiful children, and, our kids need us, but we give so much of ourselves that it's really hard to remember, like, we got to get back, like, to ourselves in some capacity. Like, they need us to be here, but we have to take care of ourselves. And I think it's incredible that you're willing to share like the darkest part of your life and the scariest part of your life, because the more we humanize that this happens all the time, you hope that it saves one person. Um, because we're just like we're afraid to talk about real shit. Like, life
Right.
is real. We are real people. And I just seriously, I'm like truly my breath. Let's say, because ironically, today's been a really rough morning for me. It's been a rough week. And so just hearing you say how rock bottom you were, and it wasn't really your first rock bottom, which is, you had several signs of like you were heading to rock bottom, and how terrifying that must have been for you and your family. And I'm just so happy that you're doing well, and that you are using your real life, personal, professional experiences to share with others. Like at the Burnt Chef, people are afraid to talk about the dark stuff. It's like, we don't want to talk about the industry being dark and scary. But you said it, these are kids entering the industry. And as kids, we have to teach them that life can be really scary, it can be really stressful and very messy. But we have tools and resources to help you get through those things, because you matter so much. You matter to be here. We need you here, and your life is important. So we got to shake this like pretty cloche thing and like lift it off. Like, this is the messy stuff, but there's a lot of beautiful things in there too.
I think that a lot of people, well, myself, certainly, I knew I was in trouble, and I didn't not seek help out of ignorance. I did that out of fear, right? I worried that this is bad, but what's going to be taken away from me if I, show my weakness, have the stigma of being mentally unwell attached to me. And, the one thing I want everyone listening to know is that all of my fears and all of my assumptions were wrong, right? Like, and I'm not saying it's going to be the case for everyone, but I thought my staff would leave. They just leaned in and helped me, and did more than I asked them to do during that time. I thought I had contracts with public companies. I thought, surely I'm a tiny little company, they can find someone else and cut and run. That not only stuck with me, they gave me time, and the following year, they more than doubled the contract, and suggested that I talk to people right, about it, because maybe I could help others avoid what had happened. I worried that my friends would think less of me. And I think a couple did, right? And they're no longer friends. Like
Mm-hmm.
everyone gets sick, right? If I declared that I had diabetes or cancer, like people would rally around you. Like saying that I have mistreated myself and put myself in a terrible position, that I've literally got chemically unwell. Um, who could back away from you? Like, wouldn't you lean in and help your friends? Like, that's what most of my friends did, and some to an extent that would bring me to tears if I talked about what they did for me. My family worried how my kids would look at me, and I think that it's very healthy that I didn't hide this away in a closet to say that, like, even your dad, who's strong, and even your dad can get sick, and some people get sick just because they get sick, and other people get sick because they make themselves sick.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at the whole gamut, like, talking about it and getting help, which is the hardest part, especially in this country, right? Like there are mechanisms available. I've talked to a lot of people about getting help, and sometimes that help isn't what they need. It's not the right help. It's ineffective or whatever else. You just got to keep trying, right? Just like if you're trying to get in shape and you're looking for the right trainer or the right diet or whatever, you just got to keep trying and sometimes just the act of trying is making things better.
Yep.
Right? It's just awareness and forward momentum, and not sitting in the darkness and getting sicker. So, if there's anyone listening that knows that they're headed to, don't you don't have to be like me and wait till you wind up in a hospital. You could go and start your journey now and head towards health.
Yeah, I just love everything that you shared. I'm so glad that you did. And we got to talk, like I said, a little bit yesterday about, your consulting, your program now that you're running, and giving people true experiences, and that life is so much more than like the four walls of your restaurant. How did you kind of come up with this idea of blending, showing people the world and like showing them these incredible things? I mean, I don't want to blow it. I want you to share, what is it that you do that's so special at your consulting group?
Well, what I try to do is there's about 8 different areas of business. I work exclusively on business fundamentals, right? I'm not a tech guy. I don't know a single recipe. I work on, HR, like I said, like if you can, we had, for example, in the program that we had, like I just talked about the mental health part, but we did a lot for our staff because they did a lot for us. And we had, we measured like qualified applications per job opening. We were averaging 28 people to select from for every job opening. And how many people do you hear that say, I can't find good people?
Can't find
Like
anyone.
we couldn't find, we couldn't place all the great people that were coming to us because we were doing things a little differently. So we do everything from HR, optimization in peak hours, because that's a cash machine for a business. 80% of sales come from 20% of hours of operation. So if you get that right, it kind of takes care of a lot of other things. So we do that. We have a whole gamut of courses. It's group coaching, so you're with a group of 20 or 30 other people. They can get one-on-one time with me if they want it, but for the most part, we meet a couple times a week for an hour at a time, and we do like 3 major projects a year. So we're just finishing up the speed and efficiency, like optimization piece. We did HR earlier in the year, from how to attract the right stuff. Who do you know who you're looking for? Right? Like good people. We preferred people without hospitality experience. We like retail experience, but not specifically hospitality, because it came with a lot of bad habits often. So we teach them how to attract, how to interview, and how to find that true person in the interview process, and then decide, like, can you help them? If they work for you for 3 years, would they be 3 years older, or would they be 3 years better off? Is what you have to offer important to them? Then we do like a 100-day induction program, then ongoing education, right through to exit interviews, right? So that's like the HR module. And next trimester, we meet 3 times a year. We're going in 10 days to Tequila, Mexico, a place that I love. We take the group there. We take over this hotel right between 3 distilleries. It's gorgeous. The food, mariachi bands, like we study in the morning, we go tequila tasting, and all my friends are distillers out there. They own the businesses. And so we do that a few times a year. In the group, we have obviously a lot of Americans, Canadians, British, Germans, Australians, all over the world. And the Australians have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. They don't miss a call. And so, yeah, that's the group. But the kind of parallel thing with it is, I did a lot of consulting when I sold the restaurants. And after like my 20th job, I realized that all these businesses that were in trouble had one thing in common, with the exception of one place. The people that were running them were sick. They just weren't healthy. And it's very hard to have a healthy business when you're unhealthy yourself. You just make a lot of bad decisions. You don't attract good people. You could be going through a divorce, alcohol, run down like I was, whatever it might be. So I say to the guys in the group, like, let's start with getting you healthy. What does that mean to you? What do you need? People know what they need to change, right? What are you willing to change? Are you willing to try it for 6 months? Then let's start getting your leadership team healthy. Then let's get your staff healthy. And then we can do these other things. If you're sick, you very rarely see someone win the Super Bowl and the coach is an alcoholic and going through a divorce, right? Like, you got to be on top of your game if you want to win the game.
And one of our ambassadors, Imran, talks about like the physical wellness and why it's so important, like your physical health, like about we're athletes. I mean, I could do a little bit better job. However, but running a restaurant is a lot of work. It's like stamina that's unseen in a lot of places. And to your point about if the leader is not in the healthiest place, then that just repeats to the next tier down and then so on and so on. And then you have like a big mess on your hands when, like, say things hit the fan. How are you handling it? Can you handle it? Do you have the tools to handle it? And I love they said, are you willing to make changes? That's like a huge thing for people.
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to address what it is and then make that change to better yourself and then better your business and the team of people that work for you? It's a very stressful job. Oh man, I could talk to you probably for hours because I'm just so inspired by what you're saying and this world that you've created, especially that's on a global scale. Like, not a lot of people can say that. What's that like for you, knowing that you're helping people from all over the world?
I love it. I love the opportunity to help people anywhere they are. This career for me, like from a small town in Canada of 2,000 people, this year I've traveled to my 60th country, and I've spoken on stage in 35 countries around the world. So I did one contract with Diageo. I wrote a book that I sold them the rights. So I'm an unpublished author, but I have a lot of friends that are published that made no money. This book made a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And we took that to 55 countries around the world. And I went to like 28 or 29 of them myself to launch. I love the opportunity. I love to travel. I'm very curious. And my fiance now, she was a single mom, didn't get a chance to travel. She just told me the other day that now she'd only ever been to Mexico before we met 5 years ago. And now she's been to 18 or 19 countries. So she's, she loves it like I do. And you know what, like lots of people travel for work and, it can be fun or not. Ours, like our last trip, we just got back from, did a gig with Jameson for 4 days. The group was 50 people from around the world that I was the keynote speaker at. And I work with them like every morning and had breakfast with the group, but it's 50 kind of leaders from around the world. We stayed at a castle in Ireland, like went horseback riding, went to the Middleton Distillery, which is one of the prettiest places in the world. Just world-class people. It was amazing. So that's what we get to do now. And it's all because of this.
Did you say the Middleton Distillery?
Yeah.
The people that created like a town around the distillery, is that what you're talking about? At the same place?
Yeah, Middleton, just outside of Cork.
This is very random, but I actually, when they reached out to me a long time ago when I worked for the Berghoff, and they asked for like a quote and to use one of our images from the Berghoff in Chicago to use there. And I was just in like infatuation with this concept that they had about the whole company and the brand and their community. And that is literally on my bucket list of things to do is to go there.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
that's
you
incredible
should.
that you guys got to do that.
Yeah, yeah. The guy that runs it's Tony. I can put you in touch with him. It's called the what do they call it? The Jameson Experience. And you go, and last year we did it as well. We started in Dublin, went to Cork, then went to Middleton, stayed at the castle as well. And it's just the people are from like all over the world, and
Yeah.
it's super special.
And that you're doing it with your other half of, that you're going to spend your life with. I mean, how beautiful is that? That's my dream,
Yeah,
is to do things with the person I love, with my husband. And like I told you yesterday, taking my children around the world to experience all different cultures, all different foods and different dining experiences, everything. I want them to have, just like I said, life's too short. I want them to experience it all. And I'm truly in awe of you. I think this is incredible. I'm so excited to see everything that you're probably going to work on, continuing on. So what is next for you? Is there anything big that you can share, or how can people get in touch with you, maybe to be a part of that?
yeah. So we right now, I I was writing a book, and it got broken into two, which I wasn't thrilled about, but it's turning out. So yeah, great. I love the writing process. So writing two books at the moment. Um, we'll launch one before the end of the year, and then probably do like a book tour for a year, and I'll continue to coach. That's probably my big passion, because you get to, I get to work on all the things that I'm good at and don't have to touch anything that I'm not.
Hmm.
And then it's just the best part is just seeing it, come to life. I tell people we are not a education company. We're an implementation company. We're messy, get in, get it done. Like, if people, the only reason people get kicked out of the group is that they're not doing the work. Like, you got to put it in place, bring a
Mhm.
team member in, they can be part of the group, and we'll do that. But I love seeing the results, and it's a lot of fun. I love getting together. This house is for that. They come here a couple times a year, and then we do one road trip. This year it's Mexico. Next year we're going to go to Europe, and yeah, it's cool. You can find out about it. Ali has got a site up. It's just seanfinter.com. So
Mhm.
SEANFINTR. And that'll tell you about the group and what we do. For people that are interested, we do a totally free, like a diagnostic of your business. We do this for two reasons. One, to make sure that it's for you, and then there's a 25-minute like interview. And the reason we do it is I'm pretty sure I'm the only coaching company in the industry that offers a money back guarantee. If it doesn't work, we get results. And so therefore I have to make sure that it can work. I
Mhm.
want to pay my clients. I want to be an asset, not a liability to the business.
Mhm.
And if I don't see a clear path to getting you a multiple on the return, then, I might be able to point you to somebody that can, or just give you some resources that'll help you out. But I just want to work with people that we believe we can help.
Wow. That's very powerful. Well, I want to thank you, Sean, for joining me and being so vulnerable, not just with this show, but just in your life, because you truly are going to change people's lives and make them feel seen. I'm sure you know that, but I want to reiterate how important it is. So thank you so much. I want to thank everyone for listening to today's episode. Please be sure to check out my friends at Walk and Talk Media for all their amazing content, including this distribution of this podcast. Please visit hospitalitybites.com to learn more about me, the podcast, and my upcoming documentary. As I always say, please be kind to yourself and one another. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you. It was great talking to you.